G'day and welcome to the Josh Wade Show. My name's Josh Wade. On today's show, I speak to Chris, who is a father in a same-sex relationship. Him and his partner have 2 children. Obviously, at the moment, it is a very tense time within the same-sex community with the marriage and the plebiscite going on at the moment. It would be silly of me to not cover this issue on the show. So me and Chris have a very, very frank conversation. I try and ask all the questions on behalf of both sides. I really wanted to go into this conversation not being political at all, although obviously you can't not cover politics in it. But I really wanted to come from an area of just a human conversation. I don't think I personally have had a conversation with someone that is gay who is father and has a partner for an hour. You probably haven't either. So I thought it was a great opportunity to do so. Chris was really, really great to come and sit down with me and put his face in front of the camera and talk. And we have a really, really interesting conversation that hopefully you guys can take something from. Whether you're voting yes, whether you're voting no, I really wanted to take that out of it as much as I could and just give a frank interview. So this is that. If you want to support the show, you can. All you have to do is join our Patreon, which is patreon.com/JoshWade. If you do so, you get to join a private Facebook group. We have a bunch of, it's like a really fucked up family. It's a group of great people inside the group. We talk each week. We do a live stream each week, and you guys can join the live stream. It's really, really great. If you can't finish the podcast online, you can listen to it on iTunes or if you're on an Android, you can listen to the audio in the car. It's a really great way of doing it. And if you want to review it, that really does help us out, so we'd really appreciate it if you head over there and just review it just for shits and giggles. But otherwise, that's basically it. Pardon? Oh, the audio on camera. Yes, so we had one more issue this day. I have no voice, which I don't know. We did another interview that day where I had no voice at all as well. It was a shame. We spent all this money to go down to Sydney, and literally the morning of, my voice just went. So please put up with that. And also the fact that we had no microphones. Unfortunately, Connor had to go, so I had to record it off my iPhone. So the audio is a little bit not awesome on it, which is annoying, but we hustled, and we tried to get there, and yeah. And there's a motorbike going past, and in this, you're going to hear about 17 planes fly over. So just put up with it. But otherwise, I'm Josh Wade, and enjoy the episode. And on today's show, Chris Baguley. Yeah, I've got it right. All right, Chris. Now, Chris, today's episode is going to be an interesting one. We're obviously in a really pivotal time in Australia, and there's a big conversation happening about gay marriage, and I've had the opportunity to, I guess, speak to you, and your story is really interesting. And for a lot of people that are watching today, I'm sure most of them put their hand up and go, I've never listened or spoke to a gay father, a man in a relationship with another man with kids. For a lot of people at the moment, they don't even know that that's a thing. Yeah. So, Chris, I guess you've got an interesting story. You're from Newcastle area?
So, yeah, live in Raymond Terrace in Newcastle,
yep.
In the Newcastle region, about 25 minutes outside of Newcastle.
Yep.
It's a sort of smallish country town.
Yep.
It's got a very good vibe. Oh, sorry.
You're right.
Yeah, very good vibe. It's a great tight-knit community where everyone knows everyone's business. I'm active in the community and that sort of thing. So I guess for most people who know me, it's not a big thing that we're a couple with, like, gay couple with kids.
Right.
They just see us as another family, and I guess that's one of the reasons I sort of was happy to come and chat to you, is to show that to other people as well, I guess. Right.
Now, because I wasn't sure coming into this that if you're, did you grow up there?
No, I'm originally from Nowra, which is other end of New South Wales.
So both small, like, country sort of places.
Spent 12 years in Sydney and didn't like that.
Yeah.
Today's the first time I've been in this part of Sydney for a very, very long time.
Welcome back. So I guess, obviously, my first thoughts would have been that it might have been a bit of a struggle living in a community like that that's sort of tight-knit and everyone knows each other's business, and obviously, being on sort of, or feeling like you're on the outskirts of society. So you didn't experience that where you are?
Look, obviously the environment today is very different to what it was even 5-10 years ago. We've lived there for 5.5-ish years now.
Yeah.
When we first moved there, we were like, well, the town's got a bad rap. It's, known as a low socioeconomic area.
Right.
And it's not been our experience. It's people are very accepting. Obviously, as I said, part of the reason I'm so active in the community is to have that engagement, I guess,
right,
so people experience that difference. But you know, at school, our eldest, who's 11, is one of the most popular kids in school. All of his friends and their parents all know that Miles has 2 dads.
Yep.
And it's never been a thing. I've had one instance where some snot-nosed kid yelled out, "You're a fag," from a skate park.
To you or?
To me, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In 5 years. So, you know, I mean, I really don't think that it's that, but it's
that wild.
Yeah.
Obviously, like the suicide and mental health rate is much higher in the gay community. Why do you think that is?
I guess part of it's being told your whole life that you're an abomination and that you're wrong. I mean, I came out 20 years ago when I was between sort of 15 and 18 in Nowra. Very different world, and it was during back then it was when they were looking at decriminalising homosexuality in Tasmania. It was still illegal to be gay in Tasmania in the 90s. And so
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And so there was a lot in the media about, you know, how they're horrible and that they'll corrupt children and everything like that. So for me as a teenager, hearing all of that, not to mention that back then the media wasn't as friendly to gay people as they are now, gay and lesbian people, that, you know, you get to a point. I tried to take my own life 3 times when I was a teenager. And, you know, during that whole debate, I was like, I don't have a voice. I feel like I don't matter. And so as I said,
are they the reasons that you try to take your own life?
Yeah, right. Hearing it constantly, hearing, you know, like people at school fag bashing and things like that. You're just like, well, why bother? Right. And I think, you know, I mean, I guess kids these days do have it a lot easier. In that sense, there's a lot more support from their peers in high school and that sort of thing. And I think that it's the only holdout comes from, and that's been our experience. Kids don't care. It's that
they're taught to care. Yeah. You did sort of mention there just quickly that the media is a bit more kinder to gay people, and I suppose there would be people out there that would argue that there's a clear bias that you know is being shoved down people's throats.
I love that they use that expression every time. You know.
Yeah. Well, that is a thing that they do argue and you know the people that are, you know, campaigning to vote no, a lot of their reasoning is because they feel forced to, or they feel like, you know, the media or other people are demonising them based on their belief system. What would your response be to that?
I guess at the end of the day, if you're a bigot, you're a bigot, and it's not going to matter what people say to you, how nice they are about it. If you can't just accept people for who they are and that they have no bearing on your life, then that says more about you than it says about them. Right. Yes, the media is much more favourable because, like so many things, they don't want to be seen to be on the wrong side of history. And now that they've sort of caught up with that, it's like the civil rights movement. It's like giving women the vote. It's all of those things throughout our history in Australia. They're against, and they're like, oh, actually, the public tide's turning. Maybe we should turn with it, sort of thing. I guess though, if I'll play devil's advocate, you could also argue that they're doing the opposite to other things as well. Oh, true. Where they're not reporting on, you know, certain things. Yeah, like, you know, that sort of stuff. So, anyway. They're always behind the 8 ball, but when they catch up, they'll go hell for leather. They'll go, okay, yeah, that's a good point. So, you know, when did you meet your partner? We've been together, what year is it? 2007. Yeah, so... You'd fucking forget that, wouldn't you? Yeah, you would, yeah. Almost 6 years. Right, 6 years. And when... So you adopted your children, obviously? No? Sorry? From his previous relationship. Oh, previous relationship. Stepdad. Your stepdad, okay. Yeah, which is one of the reasons you know, I mean, if a straight married couple have a blended family, and the step-parents have certain rights. Yeah. Right now, I don't technically have any rights with my kids if something was to happen to my partner. Right. Okay, so this is some real modern family shit. Yeah. Yeah, okay. This is the 2017 Brady Bunch. Yeah, pretty much, yeah. So, I didn't bring any in, but I must account for that. So how does that dynamic work? Because then that's another spanner in the work that I didn't know about. Yeah.
of having. So what was your partner's name again? Scott. Scott's had was he married?
Oh, they were engaged.
They're engaged, okay. He's had 2 kids. And then obviously something's happened along the way where, I don't know if he's come out or they've separated. How old were the kids during all of this?
So when I first started seeing Scott, Miles was 5.5.
Yep.
And Ivy was 1.5.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, as anyone who's ever started dating someone with kids can tell you, it's very quick. You're either in or out. Yeah. Because there's other lives that are impacted by that relationship. So, and it went pretty quick. And we asked, like Miles said, what do I call you? And I said, well, what do you want to call me? And he said, I want to call you Dad. Right. And then he said, oh, actually, I'll call you Dada, and he's Daddy. So that's okay. So the kids chose.
So that's that problem solved.
Yeah, they obviously saw me as a father figure, and look, it's something I always wanted to be, a dad. Right. But I was already 32 years old at that time, and I was like, oh, well, it's not going to happen. I'd just come out of another relationship that ended pretty poorly, and as I said, it just all ducks lined up, and bang, instant family.
Right. Yeah.
Changes your spending habits, though.
Oh, I bet. So, obviously another issue that the other side would bring up, and I'm really sorry about my voice, everyone. Another issue that the other side would bring up is, obviously, like you said, the name calling of the parents. Yeah. Everyone's concerned about, a child losing out on getting to call someone a dad or a mum and that thing, and that children will not be brought up the same because a mother or a father, that dynamic is a combination that a child needs. What would you say to that?
I say the same thing. In our circumstance, obviously our kids still see their mum. Yes. So they do still have that relationship with her. It's a bit different. Yeah. But, we're the full-time parents and they go to for access and stuff. But, I guess the term I always come back to is it takes a village to raise a child. And the argument's always thrown out, they're being robbed of male role models, they're being robbed of female role models. Well, they go to school, they've got a lot of female teachers, they've got females in the community, they've got aunts and uncles and cousins and everyone like that who are still part of their life. People, like kids in a straight relationship, are not only influenced by their mother and father. And it's the exact same in ours. It's everyone. They learn how to be a responsible human from multitude of sources. Right.
Now you threw a barbecue at your house.
Yes.
I can't get that one out. You threw a barbecue at your place for 250 people, was it?
Well, I invited 250, so I just wrote a letter to my neighbours, just introducing our family.
Jesus Christ, how many neighbours do you bloody have?
Well,
enough.
I walked the streets in my little part of the world. Yeah. And, I wasn't really expecting too much take-up of it. It was a very open letter. It wasn't you have to vote yes. It was just, this is our family. It just showing, I guess, telling them that it's a real people in their community that it affects, and introducing them to us a bit and that sort of thing. I sort of, expected maybe a couple of people come by. Yeah. In the end, probably, I didn't count, but I'd say 25 to 30 other people took me up on the offer. Yeah. Some were people that I already knew. Yep. That I'd been acquainted with. Yep. It was a really, really lovely old couple who were in their 70s who wanted to actually come by and make a big show of ticking their yes box in front of us. Right. I think on the night I got 10 surveys to send off. Right. So it was just as I said, it came from, as I said, 20 years ago when I was coming out, I didn't have a voice, and I felt like I didn't, and I thought about what it'd be like to be a 17-year-old now, 16-year-old kid struggling with their sexuality and hearing all of this. Yeah. And I guess just sort of putting myself out there to be that voice that they might not feel like they have now. So,
whether you're sitting at home or you're listening to this now and you agree or you disagree with it, this is a human story, and I think that gets lost in
the noise,
all of the shit. Yeah. And there's a lot of noise. Yeah. And I feel just standing outside of it and looking at it from afar, I think both sides, I feel like almost the issue of the explaining of it isn't really being done properly on it. It's vote no or vote yes, and then that's end of story. Yeah. That's the box. So I almost feel like there's so much confusion out there that you have people that once upon a time were, I don't really care. Like, of course, like if they want to get married, fuck it, it's not my problem. They're the ones which were probably 80% of people that are now being pulled in either direction really quite strongly, because you find that, I suppose, the loudest ones on both sides are either going to be the very far right or the very far left that are pulling people. Do you think that pendulum is, this has made it, this survey has made it a lot tougher for either, side? Yeah.
I do, and I guess that's one of the reasons why so many of us fought so hard for the plebiscite not to happen, because we knew it would be exactly this sort of, and again, we know what the media likes to do. They'll take a molehill, make a mountain out of it, because it sells papers, it sells online content. And it's only the extremists on both ends that do either side a disservice. I think that the official equality campaign, which I'm not actually officially affiliated with it, I think they've done a pretty good job of just staying on message and again just telling these sort of real stories of real people who just want the same rights as everybody else.
Yeah.
Whereas the No campaign has a tendency to go off onto tangents of things that are completely unrelated. Yeah. And so instead of engaging with that, they've just ignored it.
Well, look, I really didn't want to go too far into the politics side of it all. Yeah. But I mean, I live on the Gold Coast, and I was driving down the road the other day and I saw a billboard that said "Vote No for freedom of speech." And I'm quite a libertarian person in the sense of, look, if it doesn't affect, I don't care. Just everyone should have rights for the same shit. Yeah. But I was really annoyed that was sort of brought into the whole. That was the selling point. So do you feel like, I mean, as a whole, again, if I stood out and looked at the whole thing, I feel like, I don't know about you. I'd like to see what you think about this, but I feel like the result is going to be a lot closer than what people expect. Yeah. Almost in the same way as like the Trump and Hillary thing. Yeah. Where it was like, oh, of course it's going to be Hillary, it's going to be Hillary, it's going to be Hillary, and then all of a sudden, because I feel like the media might have just went a little bit too hard, too fast. Do you feel like there is a chance that you're going to see a 60-40 type thing instead of maybe a? And does that worry you?
I flip on it daily.
You do? Okay.
Really, one day I'll be like, yeah, no, it's going to happen, and the next day I'll be like, oh, I've seen this media article, I've seen all of this no stuff. Oh, I feel terrible about it. For me, it's all a moot point, because I feel like even if the yes result gets up, they'll find another way to kick the can down the road, and we'll still be waiting.
Oh, I agree.
And that's, I guess, for me at the moment, it's just getting through the process and feeling like, again, I come back to that, just having a voice and giving people who don't have one a voice. Yep. As I said, my partner isn't the sort who will talk about this sort of stuff.
Yeah, sure.
So by, making sure that I'm just, taking care of myself and my family, but also helping those who might be struggling with it, just get through this. I don't really, at this stage, care about the result.
Right.
And that sounds terrible, but
I totally agree with the fact that whether it's yes or no, let's say it's 99% yes, I'm of the belief that they'll still be talking about it in 6 months' time. Yeah. I was speaking to someone else earlier on today, and they were talking that their opinion was they just wish the government just said no altogether to avoid the plebiscite and just wait until a new government came in that just signed it in. Would you have rathered it just flat out to be no for now?
100%.
Yep, 100%.
And that's, I guess, I appreciate where the equality campaign's been coming from, keeping the pressure on and that sort of thing, because if you keep it in the public sphere, then the momentum's there. And I mean, the consistent polling, they can use the same polls to roll a sitting Prime Minister, but they can't use that poll to then say, okay, well, the people support it, let's just legislate like we're paid to do. Yeah. But that's it. It's something that I guess, it's so damaging to have to hear all these sorts of things said about our family that, but we'll get through.
How do your kids deal with this? And if you're watching this, just before you answer, just think of this in your own circumstances as well, whether you agree or you don't agree or whatever. As I said, this is a human story. So when you're putting your kids to bed at night, and they're asking you what you did today, how does that affect them? And can you see it a little bit at all?
We try to keep the kids out of it as much as we can.
Yeah.
And Ivy's still too young to really understand what's happening. I just say, Dad has got to go to a meeting, and she's like, again?
Yeah.
Miles has more of an understanding of what's happening,
right?
And he asks questions and things like that, and we've sort of said to him, we don't want you to get the post while this is happening, just in case you read something really nasty.
What sort of questions does he ask, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, just why isn't it happening? What are you, like, what meeting are you going to now? Yeah. When's it over? Things like that. So, right. And I guess some people would say we're doing the wrong thing by shielding him from it. But again, he's 11. We don't want him to have to deal with that sort of fallout. Conversely, though, before the actual postal survey became a thing, his teacher messaged me on, like, there's an app you can get for school. Yeah. And she messaged me and said, look, just wanted to let you know that we watched Behind the News today, which is still a thing. I don't know which is great.
Well, commercial television is still a thing.
Yeah. But so Behind the News on ABC, and they're like, it was about the marriage equality debate. Yeah. And she said having him in the class was actually invaluable because he was actually able to say, well, this is something that affects my dad's. Yep. And it was she said it promoted a lot of discussions. Right. Which he hadn't even told us about that. So.
Right. And I suppose it's a kid explaining it to other kids on a kid level.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Right. Do you think that, when he gets a bit older, do you think that this experience in his life and still what is yet to come, because this isn't over. No. This is for the rest of his life. Yeah. Whether this is yes or no and it all goes through, and we can be 20 years later and then this is... Do you feel like this is still going to be a thing? Let's say we are 40 years in the future and gay marriage has been around all this time. Do you think in the same way with racism and that this is a thing that is really never just going
to... You're always going to have people who just can't accept it for whatever reason. Yep. But I think as a society, once something becomes law and once it's established, most of that noise drops away. You're always going to have the extreme views. Yeah. But I think, and look, I'll be honest, I thought I was going to be an old man before we were this close instead of just a almost middle-aged man. I'm 37 now. Yeah. And if I had have thought 20 years ago that I'd be here having this conversation with you while a postal survey goes on about whether my family is valid, I would have told you you're crazy. Like it is... I would envision that in 40 years' time it'll be just such a non-thing. I don't... Even now, I don't think kids really need to come out. Like, for me, when I came out, it was a big thing. Right. It was, you made it a big announcement. You sort of had to tell your whole family and everything like that. I already see it now where it's like kids are saying, I'm seeing this person, his or her name is X. Like it's different. Right. Totally different. Yeah. Not all kids, but some.
Do you feel like just in general society is being a bit more fluid in the sense that, like, a conversation that I have with my mates, we might be talking about, I don't know, politics or, a conversation that blokes don't have. Do you feel like there's just in general a bit more liberation among the younger people where it's 100%. There is no uniform, this is a woman, this is a man, and a man talks about this and a woman has to talk about this? Yeah.
I think the line's definitely blurred, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. You know what I mean? And we see it with our kids, like, Miles will kill me if I say that he's, dressed up before and things like that, but all kids do it. We all, we always play.
Yeah, I fucking play dress up.
but and that's like, and I think that comes from sort of my generation and then to more of an extent your generation who just, they don't necessarily believe in boxing people away into, you are a white straight male, I am a white gay male.
Yeah.
You know, like it's getting better.
Yeah, yeah. I guess I wanted to also touch on some of the no commercials and an argument that they've been pushing is this sort of sex education in school.
Yeah.
Can you go into that a little bit further and explain that for people that don't understand?
Yeah. I mean, well, they're talking generally about the Safe Schools material.
Is that a totally different thing? Like, is that,
yeah,
okay, so this is not even in this. Yeah, okay.
Completely unrelated. I mean, and as people have already said, like, you know, the Safe Schools material has been available since 2010. Marriage equality is not here yet, so it existed before and it will potentially exist after. And I guess I'm passionate about Safe Schools because I probably needed that when I was in high school, because I wouldn't have tried to kill myself 3 times. And they sort of they run the line, they taught that they can wear a dress to school if they want to and that sort of thing. And that's, from my understanding of it, that's not what it's about at all. It is literally, it's giving teachers resources to be able to have conversations with either an individual student who's having troubles with their sexuality or gender identity, or to have classes about acceptance of everybody. Right. That's it.
What about, I mean, some people would then argue that those things just in general, whether it's, you know, sexuality, whether you're straight, gay, whatever, just that shouldn't be brought into schools at all. Like, school is about, that's a parent's job to do. Yeah. Not in like a way of, no way we shouldn't be talking about it, but do you feel like there's a legitimate concern in going, I don't really know if I want to, you know, a 24-year-old chick or male that's just come out of uni teaching my child about who they can and can't be.
I guess, you know, we've abrogated our responsibility to teach our children those sorts of things for many, many topics. You know, like we send kids to school for a reason, and if the parents aren't doing that job at home of teaching kids not to be an asshole, somebody else has to do it. So, you know, I think, as I said, in general, I envision, I'd love to see a world where a program like Safe Schools isn't needed. But, you know, like as I said, it would have saved me a lot of heartache. And I think the fact that it's been politicised to a point that no one accurately represents what it actually is. No one who's actually done any no one goes and researches it. They just see the headline and go, oh my God, that's terrible. Like, do they really think that a teacher would be telling a kid in class how to use a household object as a dildo? Like, that's...
Is that shit on there?
No.
So where does this come from?
So it comes... My understanding is that most of that sort of stuff comes from sites that are off, like aren't part of the actual Safe Schools program, but are linked to. For people who want to go further. And ultimately, if kids want to find stuff worse than that, it's a Google search away.
Well, yeah, you've only got to type in fucking even just boobs on Google and hardcore porn.
A lot worse than that. So.
Right. So, in your ideal world, or how you would vision it for your children, how would that look? I mean, what sort of conversations do you want your kids to be having around this subject? And do you feel like, you know, I'll just answer that one first, and then I'll get on to the next one because they're a bit different.
It's a tough question. Do you mean like what conversations they'd be having around sexuality and gender, or
do you want them to be, you know, in this position where they're talking to me about this still, or do you want it to just be a non?
Ideal world is that it is a non-thing, that people are just allowed to be people, and if they're a bit different to what most people are, then that's one of their quirks. Right. As I said, I'd love to see a day where a program like Safe Schools isn't needed, because it's not. It's just not even a thing.
Do you feel like that's it's sort of that pendulum thing where it's like, you know, you feel like we need it now, but do you feel like, you know, it's causing so many of these arguments that it's just better off that everyone just fucking leaves it and closes the door, or is that Is it a push-pull thing where it's like...
Yeah, I mean, because it's not, again, it's not really related to marriage equality.
No.
People are going to be gay, people are going to be transgender. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think that it would be wrong to just turn around and say, no, we don't, just bugger it off, sweep it under the carpet.
Yeah.
I think it's something that, as long as it's used right, like any other teaching resource, that there's no harm in having it.
When you hear people say it's okay to vote no, and I've heard this before, and my position has constantly changed on it. But when you hear people going, look, I have this religious belief, which religion for me anyway, I mean, I find with religion they pick and choose things that they want, and we all know that. We can all agree on that.
Yeah.
But let's say you're a staunch Catholic. You're just 100%. If the Catholic Church says this and they've cherry-picked it, all right, I can agree with that, but that's their line. Are you campaigning for being able to get married in a Catholic church, or are you more just based on I want the same legal rights?
Yeah.
Next of kin, all these people. Like, what is your main concern in the yes vote and getting this through?
Civil marriage, completely unrelated to the religious ceremony that goes with it.
So you're not fighting for the changing of what something says in the Bible,
I've not encountered a single gay or lesbian person who is determined that they're going to get married in a church. There are already churches out there saying, we got no problem, we will wed gay couples. And what a lot of people don't realise, and where this messaging gets lost, is that you can go get married in a Catholic church, but if your priest does not sign the legal paperwork to go with that marriage, the ceremony means nothing. It's just a ceremony. And that's it's the legal component, the secular legal component that we're talking about, and that's that messaging's lost.
So would you respect someone's opinion that goes, look, if you want to get married under the term of you get the same rights and everything, not a civil partnership, but okay, fine, get married, but if my priest or my church says, look, we don't necessarily believe in, that's not our line of belief. Would you respect that train of thought, or would you consider that bigoted?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, that's like it's.
I know that's a tough question, but that's what people are asking.
And that's a fair question to ask. It is okay to vote no, and if your reasoning is that you just can't marry it with your religion, then that's where you're at. But this isn't about religion either, and that's where the message is being blurred again. Yeah, do you think? It's religion. I mean, I don't want to get onto that.
Okay, all right.
Religion doesn't have the same place in our society as it did 50 years ago.
No.
And to me, I know a lot of religious people who are still voting yes.
Yeah, of course.
Because they understand that it's not about the religious ceremony.
Yes, yeah.
It's purely the signing of the piece of paper.
Right, yeah. So. Well, I suppose you've got a tough road ahead. I mean, the survey finishes on October 27th, but I mean, they've already announced or pre-announced some of the results. Yeah. Do you think that's a smart idea, or?
Well, they haven't actually released any actual results.
Okay.
All they've said is that.
So these are just guesses.
By their estimation, they've received, as of last Tuesday, it was that they've received 57.5% of the vote, or the responses back. So, do
you believe that? Do you trust them with that?
I mean, it's all they're saying is based on how many boxes of packages we've gotten from Australia Post. We think this is about how many we've come back.
Oh, okay.
That's all they're doing, and I guess that's partly to energise people to make sure they send their responses.
Right. Yep.
I hate saying votes because it's not a vote.
It's not a vote. No.
It's a survey opinion. And I guess that's, and that's one of the things that the official Yes campaign has been doing, is that they know that this process has been stacked against young people like yourself who are going to be apathetic about it and forget to respond or not get around to it. So it's that constant reminding people, make sure you send your response. It's great if you support it.
Yep.
If you don't, then that's your lookout. but whatever way you're going to respond.
You got an Apple Watch on, so you're obviously down the tech hole.
Yeah.
And I'm all about it. Why on earth did they do a mail postal vote? Is there a conspiracy in that, do you think?
Well, it's definitely to engineer the least possible response from younger people who are most likely to say yes. Because, again, we had 12 months ago the ABS, the same government body that is running this postal survey. Yes, it was a bit of a hashtag census fail, but they still were able to do an online census of the entire Australian population. Why didn't we have that this time?
Multiple questions, not one.
Yeah, that's right. And why, if, I've got mates who are overseas at the moment, they're able to do it online.
Yeah.
Why couldn't we all? But that's, and we've seen that play out. Post goes missing, post gets stolen, post gets destroyed. If you don't care enough to actually contact the ABS and get a replacement survey form, your votes, or your response, never say vote, your response is nowhere. Yeah. So it doesn't,
And it is a pain in the ass.
Yeah, it is.
It is for anyone.
Yeah.
In a world where I can fucking order a pizza and
on your watch.
On my watch, or send Domino's an emoji.
Yeah.
I almost feel like it's taking the piss.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's $122 million of taking
whether you vote yes or no, they're spitting in your face regardless with that.
Yeah.
That really fucks me off.
Yeah.
A lot. It's your money.
Yeah.
It's your money.
Ultimately.
For nothing.
And why, everyone says, nothing stirs passions like this. Well, I'm pretty passionate about refugees. I'm pretty passionate about us not going to war for no good reason.
Yeah.
Where's my postal survey on that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So can we, after this vote, I know this is a little bit unrelated, but can we, after this vote, use this passion that everyone has? Everyone's got an opinion. Everyone's got a voice now. To use it for things that are also just as important.
Yeah, well, that's it. Why aren't we?
Why aren't we?
Why aren't we? Is because we have a representative democracy. We cast that vote every 4 years also every 3 years to put people that we agree with in power to be able to make those decisions for us.
But do you feel like even after this, obviously, they pussyfoot around a lot of things. Is the issue not just gay marriage and this survey and everything that's going on, but does it ultimately come back to the real root cause that our leaders that we have voted in are failing us time and time again, and this is all just this stupid illusion of they're doing something when they're not.
And that's really what's been happening for the past 2.5 years. It's the illusion of doing something when they're not.
Do you think it goes back even further? Between both sides? I'm not just saying Labor or Liberal, but just in general, do you think the political process is somewhat becoming more flawed?
I think there's definitely a lot of disillusionment in the political process in Australia. We see that, with the lack of voter turnout, with the apathy goes there, and the fact that it's just, this mob's in, we'll just let them stay. And I guess that happens in any two-party system where it's, what did South Park say, choosing between a giant douche and a turd sandwich?
Yep.
It's, you've got that, there's the feeling that there's no actual real alternative.
So why don't we fucking do something?
Yeah, well,
if we can get up and get this angry and power it up and we want to fight. I mean, you're wearing a shirt for it.
Yeah.
People are making shirts over this.
Yeah.
Should we be getting that power and going, right, now let's take this on and let's get all the problems solved?
But, and as well, there is a term for that sort of government, and there are definitely countries in the world that do everything by public opinion on every piece of legislation, but you'd be hard pressed to get it happening here because the parties already in power are the ones who would have to legislate for that to happen.
All right, well, we're fucked, I guess, essentially.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, you go out, you've been campaigning, I guess, and you said, this is not something you necessarily wanted to do.
No.
But, what compelled you to go, all right, I'm going to have to leave my little private world that's happy and, we're getting on and everything's fine, to go out and almost be a warrior for your own cause. What was that, catalyst to that.
Well, you sort of nailed it before with there's angry, shouty people at both ends of it. I want it to be that calm, measured response in the middle.
Okay.
And again, I guess it's just that, you sort of start hearing people say things about your family that you've created a stolen generation, that you've denied them a mother, that you're doing wrong by them. It's like, well, no, we're not. I wanted to be able to say to people, by all measures, our kids are doing great. It's as I said, Miles is very popular. Ivy's Ivy.
Yeah.
But again, as I said before, I felt so helpless 20 years ago, and that if my voice now can stop one kid from offing themselves, or help one person come to terms with who they are, just by showing that it gets better,
right,
that you can have meaningful relationships, that you can have a family, and be an active and valued part of your community,
right,
then it's worth it,
right,
regardless of what the result comes back.
Yeah, and look, I want to say, thanks for coming on and talking about this. I mean, there's going to be people that are watching that, like myself, I was coming into this going, I've never spoke to anyone in your position whatsoever, and the fact that it is such a blended family, you got the, husband, not your husband.
One day.
Sorry, I'm trying to get this out. I'm trying really hard. We did a podcast with Gretel Colleen yesterday, and I couldn't even speak during it. So I'm trying my best. But I'm sure there's going to be people out there that'll watch this that feel like they don't really have a dog in the fight. They don't really care. But I wanted to come from this at a really human level.
Yeah.
And I know we got into politics a little bit, but you're an Aussie bloke that's got a story to tell.
Yeah.
So's your husband. Oh, fuck me. This is not America yet. It's not California. But, I hope that you're happy and that, you don't have to go through all this crap regardless of what's going on. I mean, my wish is that people just let each other fucking be. I mean, I think we live in a society where the news and all these different people are, tabloid news, and everyone's a part of each other's life, and everyone's got an opinion on everyone else is doing. It's all external. People are worried about what your haircut is or what shirt you're wearing, and don't wear that and do this. And I just feel in general, if people were more in a peace with themselves, then they could accept anything from anyone else.
I guess that's. I guess if I could say anything to your listeners who might be, either apathetic or even on the down to the no side, like, ignore the noise from both extremes of it, and think about if it might not affect you, but one day in the future it might affect your children, it might affect your grandchildren. Think about what you'd want for them, and if that is that you want them to be treated as an equal member of society and have the same right to choose whether or not they get married, not be told by the government they can't, respond yes. All right, Chris, thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for putting up with my voice. And same to everyone watching. You've done really well. I've tried, mate. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time. All right, thanks, mate.